I absolutely love the transfer portal, and I think it has been great for college football. It gives lower level players a chance to move up, and players who didn't work out at big time schools an opportunity to go to another program and maybe even save their career. While it can be exploited, for the most part, I think the portal is a great thing for the sport, and in today's video, I want to talk about the top transfer for every SEC school. It's pretty self-explanatory, so without further ado, let's just get started. So the first school we're going to talk about is my favorite school, the Missouri Tigers. That is my team, and they landed one of the top linebacker prospects in the 2022 portal. His name is Tyron Hopper. This is an SEC to SEC transfer, but Hopper came out of Roswell, Georgia, and was a 4-star recruit. In fact, he was the number 4 outside linebacker and the 88th best player in the class of 2019. He'd go into Florida and would pretty much have an immediate impact. In 2020, he would have a reserve role as he finished with 13 tackles. 2021 would be his breakout year. He finished with 62 tackles, 2 pass deflections, 2.5 sacks, and 1 fumble. The Mizzou Tigers will lose their best linebacker in Blaze Aldridge, and that defense desperately needs more talent, so Hopper will come in right away and make an impact and start for the Tigers. It's no secret that Texas A&M has a quarterback battle on their hands. After Haynes King went down in Week 2 against Colorado, Zach Calzada took over for the remainder of the year. A&M was pretty disappointing compared to the hype, and honestly, Calzada's ceiling was not that high. He ended up transferring to Auburn, where he will try to battle it out and win the job there. Who did they bring in? Well, they grabbed Max Johnson. Coming out of Georgia, Max Johnson was a 4-star recruit, the number 10 pro-style quarterback, and the 253rd best player in the class of 2020. The son of the former NFL legend Brad Johnson decided to go to LSU, where he'd have an impact. After Miles Brennan went down and Finley struggled, Max Johnson threw for over 1,000 yards and 8 touchdowns as a freshman and became the full-time starter in 2021. This past year, he completed 60% of his passes, threw for 2,800 yards, and had 27 passing touchdowns. He'll battle it out with Haynes King for the starting job, but I think he's going to win it. This is the only transfer A&M got, so it was automatically the best, but either way, it would have won. I'm recording this video a couple months ahead of time, so if Brew McCoy ended up transferring to Tennessee, then that would have won, but because he hasn't done so yet, we're to go with Wesley Walker. Coming out of Ensworth High School in Nashville, Tennessee, Walker was a 3-star recruit, the number 58 corner, and the 588th best player in the class of 2019. The safety arrived at Georgia Tech with a considerable amount of hype, and for the most part, he lived up to it. In 2020, he had his best year, as he had 48 tackles and 4 pass deflections for the Yellow Jackets. In 2021, he'd once again start, as he'd have 44 tackles, 2 pass deflections, and 2 forced fumbles. He was your average starter, but he wanted to go home. He ended up deciding to transfer to Tennessee, where they have a spot at safety for him, and he will more than likely start. Tennessee didn't do much in the portal, but this was a solid addition. Oh boy, staying in the SEC East, we're going to talk about South Carolina. The main guy they brought in was Spencer Rattler. The 5-star recruit out of high school originally chose to go to Oklahoma, and after a great 2020 season, he had all the Heisman and number 1 overall pick hype in the world. After a couple of weeks of bad play and getting booed against West Virginia, he eventually was benched in favor of Caleb Williams, who was magical and won the starting job from Rattler. There were some recent reports that Oklahoma was toxic near the end of the Lincoln Riley era, which is maybe part of the reason why Rattler transferred, but the main reason he transferred is because he wasn't going to beat out Williams. He decided to go to his former coach in Shane Beamer, and he'll likely be the starting cornerback. Luke Doty may push him for the job, but I think it's Rattler's job to lose, and he has way more talent, and this is by far the best pickup. The next school we're going to talk about is Georgia. And that is it. Georgia did not sign a single transfer, so we're going to move on from them pretty quickly. As we head over to Georgia's rival, Florida, I could have gone with Jack Miller or Jalen Kimber, but I decided on Montrell Johnson. Billy Napier took the head coaching job after Dan Mullen was fired, and along with him came some Louisiana players. Coming out of De La Salle High School, Montrell Johnson was a 3-star recruit, the number 60 running back, and the 909th best player in the class of 2021. As a true freshman for the Cajuns, he broke out. Replacing Elijah Mitchell, he ran for 838 yards and 12 touchdowns and became a freshman All-American. That's why when he entered his name in the portal, big-time schools were going after him, but obviously he was going to go to Florida. The Gators will be losing Damian Pierce to the NFL, and while they have plenty of talent on that roster, Johnson will look to play right away, and I think he is a highly impactful transfer for them. Going back to the SEC West, we're going to talk about another quarterback transfer, and that is Zach Calzada. We already mentioned him earlier in the video, but coming out of Lanier High School in Georgia, Calzada was a 3-star recruit and the number 20 quarterback in the class of 2019. He arrived at Texas A&M expecting to be a backup, but after Haynes King would get hurt against Colorado, he was thrusted into the starting job. He really wasn't that great, but his best performance came against Alabama as he threw a touchdown while getting hurt and led them to an upset win over the number 1 ranked Tide. He finished with 2,100 yards passing and 17 touchdowns, but he saw the writing on the wall as Max Johnson, Haynes King, and Connor Weigman came in, and he decided to transfer. He's headed over to the Plains, and he will join Brian Harson's quarterback room, where he will likely compete with Robbie Ashford, Harold Garner, and TJ Finley. I think Calzada's in the driver's seat to win the starting job, and he will have to perform week by week or his spot could get yanked. Either way, he's the best transfer for the Auburn Tigers because it is a position of need, and he has starting experience. Staying in the SEC West, we're going to talk about Mississippi State's best transfer, Marcus Banks. Mike Leach went into the portal and landed a ton of guys, but no one was really that experienced, so I'm going to go with the highest ranked, and that was Marcus Banks. Coming out of Decaney High School in Houston, Texas, Banks was a 4-star recruit and the number 13 corner in the class of 2019. He ended up going to Alabama, but didn't play a whole lot. He finished with 8 tackles and 1 interception in his entire career, and in a last-ditch effort to try to save his career, he has entered the portal. He signed on Mississippi State, and the Bulldogs aren't known for having the best defense in the world, so you'll likely get an opportunity to play right away, and he was very highly rated out of high school, so let's see if he can live up to that potential. The Vanderbilt Commodores are looking to take the next step under head coach Clark Lee, and part of competing in the SEC is having a good offensive and defensive line. The Commodores landed a big-time transfer as North Texas offensive tackle Jacob Brammer decided he was going to go to Vanderbilt. Coming out of Richmond, Texas, Brammer was a 2-star player and wasn't even ranked in the top 2,700 prospects of the class of 2017, but after a solid career at North Texas, he will now head to Nashville and will probably start right away. Good for Vanderbilt. Coming out of California, Jaden Daniels was the first player not ranked as a 5-star recruit in the class of 2019, and he would start right away for Arizona State. After a great 2019 campaign in which he helped upset Oregon, he ended up falling off in 2020 and had a terrible year in 2021. He threw more interceptions than touchdowns, and that is why he saw the writing on the wall and decided to enter the portal. Arizona State's probably going to get the hammer from the NCAA, but Daniels is looking to save his career, and he got an offer to go to an SEC school. Brian Kelly reached out and decided to sign him to LSU's quarterback room, where he will battle it out with incoming freshman Walker Howard, redshirt freshman Garrett Nussmeier, and their 5th-year senior Miles Brennan. Right now, I think Daniels and Brennan are the 2 guys competing for the starting job, but if I had to put money on it, I would give it to Daniels. He's a dynamic player who has both a good arm and good legs, and he was at a position of need, so I'm definitely very curious to see how he's going to do in Baton Rouge, and this was a big pickup for Brian Kelly. Kentucky had a breakout 2021 season with wide receiver Wan'Dale Robinson and quarterback Will Levis. Robinson transferred from Nebraska and had a career year for the Wildcats and is now likely going to be a Day 2 selection in the NFL Draft. Can they do it all over again in 2022? Maybe. Tavion Robinson was a 4-star recruit coming out of Virginia and decided to sign with the Virginia Tech Hokies. After Fuente was fired, he decided he was going to enter the portal, and he is now settled on Kentucky. Robinson had a breakout 2020 campaign in which he caught 38 passes for 592 yards and 3 scores, and really started to put it all together in 2021. He increased those numbers to 44 catches and 5 touchdowns, and he'll look to be the number 1 option for Levis this fall. I'm really excited to see what Robinson is going to do, and he has the same last name as Wan'Dale, so maybe it'll be Robinson 2.0. Apparently, Jaden Hazelwood was the best high school wide receiver since Doyle Green Beckham, and I don't know if I believe that, but after originally committing to Georgia, he flipped to Oklahoma on National Signing Day. Hazelwood had a decent freshman year, but he was supposed to break out in 2020. Instead, he would suffer a season-ending injury, and after mediocre numbers in 2021, he entered the portal. Maybe he didn't want to stick with Venables, or maybe he wanted to find a new school, but either way, he transferred to Arkansas, where he'll have an opportunity to play right away. At one point, he was the number 4 ranked player in the nation, and with Treylon Burks leaving for the NFL, KJ Jefferson needs a new wide receiver 1 to throw the ball to, and Hazelwood could be that guy. He has all the athletic potential in the world, but can he put it all together? Can he stay healthy? And will he fit in Kendall Briles' offense? We'll have to wait and see. Either way, this was the biggest pickup for Arkansas. Zach Evans had a strange recruitment coming out of Texas. He seemingly flipped between 4 or 5 schools, and if you want to research that, you can go ahead and take a look at his story on your own time, but it was nuts. He was a 5-star player in the top back in his class, and eventually settled on TCU. After an okay freshman year, he broke out as a sophomore, but he got hurt and TCU wasn't very good, so he decided he was going to try to find a new school. With Jerrion Ealy leaving Ole Miss and the new hype that has surrounded that program, Lane Kiffin went out and got Zach Evans. He'll likely be a starter from day one, and he has all the potential in the world to be a top-end SEC back. Ole Miss also got Jackson Dart, but with both of them pretty much being equal, I decided I was going to go with the higher-ranked player at a high school, and that's Evans, but you can make an argument it's Dart. Last but not least, we get to the Alabama Crimson Tide. Coming out of the state of Georgia, Jahmyr Gibbs was a 3-star recruit until he blew up as a senior. Before his senior year, though, he committed to Georgia Tech. He got offers from every big program in the nation, but on National Signing Day, he decided to stay loyal and stay home at Jeff Collins. He had a really good freshman year, but it was cut short due to injury, and 2021 was going to be his breakout season. He finished with 746 yards and 4 touchdowns, while also being a special teams threat and someone who caught a ton of passes out of the backfield. He averaged the most all-purpose yards of any player in the ACC and was also an All-American. With Alabama losing Brian Robinson and Kamar Wheaton, Nick Saban decided he needed to get a running back from the portal. He reached out to Jahmyr Gibbs, and he committed to the Tide. In my opinion, Gibbs is a dark horse Heisman contender, as this guy makes highlight play after highlight play, and now that he'll be in a high-octane system at a really good program with a good line, I think the opportunities are endless for Gibbs in that offense, and he could break out and be one of the most exciting players in the nation. They also got Eli Ricks, Jermaine Burton, and Tyler Steen, who are all players who will likely play right away at positions of need, but I think Gibbs will be the best of them. So yeah, today we went through all 14 SEC schools and talked about their top transfer edition. I hope you guys enjoyed it, and be sure to let me know down below. Who's your favorite transfer for your favorite team? Who is your favorite transfer in the SEC? And what topic or player should I take a look at in my next video? Be sure to let me know down below, smash that like button for the algorithm, subscribe if you are new, and check out all my other videos on the end screen. I hope to see you guys again soon, but until next time, peace.